Good evening, friends. We're here today to have an honest, maybe even uncomfortable conversation. It's about something that many of us wrestle with, a deeply human struggle, the tension between forgiveness and self-respect. Have you ever been hurt so profoundly that it shook the very foundation of who you are? Perhaps it wasn't just a moment of carelessness or a mistake, but an intentional act that caused pain, betrayal, or humiliation. Let's sit with that for a moment, because acknowledging that someone harmed us intentionally is one of the hardest truths to face. But here's the thing, how we respond to that harm defines not only how we heal, but also how we value ourselves moving forward. And today I want to remind you that not everyone deserves a second chance in your life. Let's talk about boundaries, the invisible lines we draw around ourselves to protect our energy, our peace, and our worth. Boundaries are one of the most profound expressions of self-love, yet they are often misunderstood and sometimes even demonized. For many of us, the very idea of setting boundaries feels uncomfortable. We've been conditioned to believe that saying no is selfish, that standing firm makes us unkind, or that prioritizing our own needs over someone else's is somehow wrong. But let me tell you this, setting boundaries is not selfish, it is sacred. Boundaries are a form of clarity. They are your way of communicating to the world. This is what I will allow, and this is what I won't. It's not about keeping people out. It's about knowing who to let in and on what terms. Without boundaries, you leave yourself open to being drained, manipulated, and hurt. When someone intentionally damages you, they aren't just crossing a line, they're bulldozing it. They're showing you that your emotional, mental, or physical well-being is not a priority to them. And here's the truth, once someone has shown you that they don't respect your boundaries, it is your responsibility, not theirs, to enforce them. Boundaries are not about punishment, they're about protection. Protection of your peace. Protection of your self-worth. Protection of the person you are working so hard to become. Let's be real, setting boundaries can feel terrifying. We fear rejection, we fear conflict, we fear being misunderstood. But let's flip the perspective for a moment. What's the cost of not setting boundaries? What happens when you allow someone who has intentionally hurt you to remain in your life unchecked? The cost is often your peace of mind. It's your sense of safety. It's your ability to trust not just them, but even yourself. When you ignore the need for boundaries, you're teaching yourself that your feelings don't matter. And that's not the message you want to send to your soul. Boundaries are an act of love, not just for yourself, but for others too. When you set clear boundaries, you're not only protecting yourself, but also giving others an opportunity to understand what you need to feel safe and respected. You're saying, if you want to be part of my life, here's what that looks like. But remember this, not everyone will honor your boundaries. And when they don't, it's not your job to keep explaining them. If someone repeatedly crosses the line, they've made a choice to disregard your well-being. At that point, the question becomes, are you willing to prioritize their comfort over your peace? There's immense power in saying no more. When you decide that someone's intentional harm is no longer welcome in your life, you are reclaiming your agency. You're telling yourself, I am worthy of better, and you are. You are worthy of relationships that are rooted in mutual respect, kindness, and love. Boundaries are not walls designed to shut everyone out. They are gates you control, gates that allow you to open your life to those who uplift you and close it to those who bring harm. And let me remind you, you hold the key. So how do you start setting boundaries? First, get clear on what you need. Spend time reflecting on what feels safe and what doesn't, what brings you peace and what disrupts it. Then communicate those boundaries with clarity and confidence. You don't have to over-explain or apologize for them. A simple, this doesn't work for me, is enough. Next, enforce them. This is the hardest part. It's one thing to declare a boundary and another to stand by it when it's tested. But remember, every time you honor your boundaries, you are reinforcing your self-worth. And finally, release the guilt. It's not your job to make others comfortable at the expense of your own well-being. People who truly care about you will respect your boundaries. Those who don't are showing you they were never meant to hold a place in your life. Here's the truth. When someone damages you intentionally, they've already broken the trust that relationships are built on. By setting boundaries, you're not closing the door to forgiveness, you're opening the door to healing. You're declaring that you love yourself enough to prioritize your peace, even if it means walking away. So stand firm, protect your heart, your mind, and your soul. Because boundaries are not just an act of self-love, they are a declaration of your worth. And you, my friend, are worth everything. Forgiveness is one of the most misunderstood and often misrepresented acts of healing. When we talk about forgiveness, many people associate it with reconciliation, with letting someone back into your life, or even excusing their harmful behavior. But let me make this clear, forgiveness is not about them. Forgiveness is for you. When someone has hurt you, especially when the harm was intentional, the pain can feel like a weight, a burden that you carry every day. That hurt often comes with anger, resentment, and even a desire for revenge. And while those feelings are valid, they can also become chains, tying you to the very person who caused your pain. Forgiveness, then, is not about saying what you did was okay. It's about saying, I will no longer let your actions hold power over my life. It is the ultimate act of releasing yourself from the grip of anger and bitterness. Forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. One of the biggest myths about forgiveness is that it requires you to let someone back into your life. Let me tell you this, you can forgive someone from a distance. Forgiveness does not mean trusting them again. It does not mean restoring the relationship or pretending as though nothing happened. Reconciliation is a choice one that requires both parties to demonstrate accountability, remorse, and a genuine commitment to change. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is something you do for yourself, regardless of the other person's actions or intentions. When someone intentionally damages you, they've shown you who they are in that moment. And unless they've taken meaningful steps to repair the harm, giving them access to your life again may only invite more pain. Forgiveness frees you, but reconciliation is not a requirement of that freedom. Forgiveness is a process, not an event. Let's be honest, forgiveness doesn't happen overnight. It's not a single decision you make in a moment of clarity. It's a process, a journey of working through the pain, the anger, and the grief. There will be days when you feel at peace with what happened, and there will be days when the hurt feels as fresh as it did on the first day. That's okay. Forgiveness isn't linear. It's messy, it's complicated, and it takes time. Start by acknowledging your pain. Don't try to suppress it or pretend it doesn't exist. Sit with it, feel it, and honor it. Your pain is valid, and it's okay to grieve what was lost. Next, begin to let go not of the memory, but of the grip that memory has on you. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means deciding that the pain will no longer define you or dictate your future. Forgiveness is about reclaiming your power. When you hold on to resentment, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. The truth is, the person who harmed you may not even realize the depth of your pain, or worse, they may not care. Forgiveness is not for them, it's for you. It's a way of saying, I refuse to let what you did control my life any longer. I am taking back my power, my peace, and my freedom. By forgiving, you're not letting them off the hook. You're letting yourself off the hook. You're freeing yourself from the cycle of reliving the hurt over and over again. Forgiveness doesn't erase accountability. Just because you forgive someone doesn't mean they shouldn't face the consequences of their actions. Forgiveness is not the same as condoning or excusing harmful behavior. You can forgive someone while still holding them accountable. Forgiveness allows you to move forward without carrying the weight of anger and resentment. But it doesn't mean you have to forget what happened or ignore the lessons learned. Accountability and forgiveness can coexist. If someone intentionally hurt you, it's important to remember that forgiving them doesn't absolve them of responsibility. It simply means you're no longer willing to let their actions dictate your emotional state. Forgiveness is an act of courage. Forgiving someone who hurt you intentionally is one of the bravest things you can do. It takes strength to confront your pain, to release your anger, and to choose healing over bitterness. It's easier to hold on to resentment. It's easier to build walls around your heart and let the pain harden you. But forgiveness requires vulnerability. It requires you to open yourself to the possibility of healing, even if the other person never apologizes or acknowledges the harm they caused. When you forgive, you're not saying, "I'm okay with what happened." You're saying, "I refuse to let what happened define who I am." You're choosing growth, resilience, and freedom. So how do you begin to forgive? Start small. Forgiveness doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It begins with a quiet decision to release the grip of pain, one step at a time. Surround yourself with support friends, family, or a counselor who can help you navigate the journey. Practice self-compassion. Forgiveness is hard, and it's okay to struggle with it. Be kind to yourself as you work through the process. And most importantly, remind yourself that forgiveness is not about them. It's about you. It's about your peace, your healing, and your freedom. So today, I invite you to ask yourself, what are you holding on to that no longer serves you? Who are you allowing to take up space in your heart and mind without paying the price of accountability? And when you're ready, when you felt your pain, honored your anger, and decided to release it, let forgiveness be the key that unlocks the door to your freedom. Because forgiveness is not about them, it's about choosing yourself. Trust is one of the most precious currencies in any relationship. It is not something to be handed out freely or taken lightly, and yet we often treat it as though it's an automatic part of human interaction. But here's the reality: trust is not a gift, it's an achievement. It is something that must be earned, nurtured, and proven over time. When someone intentionally damages you, they violate the foundation of trust that relationships are built upon. They undermine your sense of safety, your sense of connection, and your belief in their intentions. And once that trust is broken, it cannot be restored simply through words or empty promises. Trust is not about blind faith or wishful thinking. It's about actions aligning with words, consistency over time, and a genuine demonstration of respect and accountability. When someone tells you they've changed, don't just listen to their words, observe their actions. Real change shows up in the way they behave, not in the apologies they give. To truly earn trust, a person must demonstrate a commitment to integrity. They must show you through repeated and sustained effort that they are worthy of the vulnerability and openness that trust requires. Earning trust is not a one-time event, it's a process, one that takes time and effort. Trust is also deeply tied to boundaries. When someone disregards your boundaries, they are sending a clear message they value their own desires over your well-being. Trust cannot coexist with disrespect. If someone has crossed your boundaries before, earning back your trust means they must not only respect those boundaries moving forward, but also take responsibility for the harm caused. Rebuilding trust requires accountability. Accountability means owning up to one's actions without deflecting, minimizing, or blaming others. It means acknowledging the hurt caused and taking concrete steps to prevent it from happening again. Accountability is not about perfection, it's about demonstrating a willingness to grow, to learn, and to do better. Trust is also built through consistency. It's not enough for someone to change for a day, a week, or even a month. Trust is earned through a pattern of behavior that reflects reliability, honesty, and respect over the long term. Consistency builds credibility, and credibility is the foundation of trust. It's important to understand that trust is not about overlooking red flags or giving endless chances. It's about recognizing when someone is genuinely making an effort to change and when they are simply using words to placate you. Trust requires discernment, the ability to separate sincere intentions from manipulation. Trust is a two-way street. It requires effort from both parties, but the burden of earning trust lies with the person who broke it. It's not your responsibility to make it easy for them. It's their responsibility to demonstrate through their actions that they are worthy of it. Trust also demands transparency. Someone who has damaged you intentionally must be willing to be open and honest about their intentions moving forward. There can be no hidden agendas, no half-truths, and no room for deceit. Transparency is what allows trust to rebuild brick by brick, moment by moment. When trust is broken, it creates cracks not only in the relationship but also in your own sense of judgment. It can leave you questioning yourself, doubting your instincts, and feeling unsure about your ability to trust again. Rebuilding trust, therefore, is not just about the other person's actions, it's also about reclaiming your confidence and faith in your own discernment. Trust is not a guarantee, and it's not something to be assumed. It must be treated as sacred because once it's damaged, the journey to rebuild it is long and arduous. Healing is not a passive process. It requires intention, effort, and courage. One of the most challenging aspects of healing is the act of letting go. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting what happened or dismissing the significance of your pain. Instead, it's about releasing the grip that the past has on your present and your future. When someone intentionally damages you, the hurt can linger long after the event itself. It may replay in your mind over and over like a film you can't turn off. You might find yourself analyzing every detail, searching for answers, or wishing things had turned out differently. But the more you hold on to the pain, the more it embeds itself into your daily life, influencing your thoughts, your actions, and your ability to move forward. Letting go is not about condoning what happened or absolving the person who hurt you. It's about choosing to no longer carry the weight of anger, resentment, or regret. It's a decision to prioritize your own peace over the need for closure, justice, or understanding. This process begins with acknowledgement. You have to face your pain head-on without minimizing or dismissing it. Ignoring your emotions or pretending that you're fine only prolongs the healing process. Acknowledgement is about honoring your experience and giving yourself the space to feel, grieve, and process what happened. Letting go also requires self-compassion. It's easy to fall into patterns of self-blame, wondering if you could have prevented the hurt or if you somehow deserved it. But healing is not about punishing yourself for the actions of others. It's about recognizing your inherent worth and treating yourself with kindness and understanding. Forgiveness plays a role in letting go, but it's important to understand that forgiveness is not synonymous with letting someone back into your life. Forgiveness is about releasing your attachment to the pain, not reopening doors that were closed for a reason. It's a way to free yourself from the emotional baggage that keeps you tethered to the past. Letting go often requires a shift in perspective. Instead of focusing on what you've lost or how you've been wronged, you can begin to look at what the experience has taught you. Pain has a way of illuminating truths about yourself, your boundaries, and your values. It can show you areas where growth is needed and areas where you've already demonstrated incredible strength. Healing is also a practice of releasing control. Many times we hold on to pain because we believe that doing so will give us power over it. We think that if we replay the event enough times, we'll eventually make sense of it or prevent it from happening again. But the truth is, holding on to pain doesn't protect you, it keeps you trapped. Letting go is about surrendering the need to control the narrative and trusting that your healing journey will unfold as it should. Boundaries are an essential part of letting go. When someone has intentionally harmed you, it's crucial to set clear boundaries that protect your emotional well-being. Letting go does not mean giving them access to you again. It means creating space between you and the source of your pain so that you can focus on your own healing. Letting go is also about reclaiming your identity. When you're hurt, it's easy to let that pain define you, to see yourself only through the lens of what happened to you. But you are not your pain and you are not your trauma. Letting go means rediscovering who you are outside of the hurt, reconnecting with your passions, your dreams, and your sense of self. The process of letting go is not linear. There will be moments when you feel like you've made progress, only to have the pain resurface unexpectedly. That's okay. Healing is a journey, and letting go is a practice that you may have to revisit again and again. What's important is that you remain committed to your own well-being, even when it feels difficult. Choosing yourself is one of the most transformative acts of courage you can take, especially in the aftermath of being intentionally hurt. For far too long, many of us are conditioned to prioritize the needs, feelings, and expectations of others over our own well-being. We are taught that choosing ourselves might make us selfish, but this couldn't be further from the truth. Choosing yourself is not an act of selfishness, it's an act of survival, empowerment, and self-respect. When someone intentionally harms you, it's a profound betrayal of trust and respect. Often, the aftermath of such harm can leave you questioning your worth, doubting your instincts, and feeling obligated to mend the relationship, even at the cost of your own peace. But choosing yourself means recognizing that your emotional, mental, and physical health are non-negotiable. It means refusing to sacrifice your well-being for the comfort or validation of others. Choosing yourself begins with understanding your worth. It's about recognizing that you are deserving of love, respect, and care not because of what you do for others, but simply because of who you are. When you choose yourself, you are affirming that your needs, boundaries, and feelings matter just as much as anyone else's. This act of self-prioritization requires a shift in mindset. It means letting go of the guilt that often comes with saying no or setting boundaries. Guilt is a tool that others consciously or unconsciously may use to keep you in situations that no longer serve you. But guilt is not a reflection of your truth. Choosing yourself is not about abandoning others, it's about refusing to abandon yourself. It also means taking responsibility for your own happiness. Too often we look to others to fill the voids within us, to make us feel whole or complete. But choosing yourself is about stepping into the role of your own advocate, your own protector, and your own source of joy. It's about creating a life that feels good to you, regardless of how others may perceive it. Choosing yourself often involves making difficult decisions. It might mean walking away from relationships that no longer honor you, letting go of people who have proven they cannot be trusted, or saying goodbye to environments that drain your energy. These choices can feel isolating at times, but they are necessary for your growth and healing. It's also about reclaiming your time and energy. When you choose yourself, you stop pouring your resources into relationships or situations that don't pour back into you. You begin to invest in things that nurture your spirit, fuel your passions, and align with your values. This act of reallocation is not selfish, it's essential. Choosing yourself requires a commitment to self-care. This doesn't just mean indulging in occasional treats or distractions, it means cultivating habits and practices that nourish you from the inside out. It's about listening to your body, honoring your emotions, and prioritizing your mental health. It also means standing firm in your boundaries. Boundaries are not walls to shut people out, they are guidelines to teach others how to treat you. When you choose yourself, you enforce boundaries that protect your peace and ensure that your relationships are built on mutual respect and understanding. Choosing yourself is a declaration of independence from the expectations and judgments of others. It's about living authentically, unapologetically, and in alignment with your truth. It's about giving yourself permission to grow, evolve, and pursue the life you deserve, even if it makes others uncomfortable. This choice can feel radical, especially if you've spent a lifetime putting others first. But choosing yourself is not about rejecting others, it's about embracing yourself fully. It's about recognizing that you cannot pour from an empty cup, and that by prioritizing your own well-being, you are better equipped to show up for the people and causes that truly matter to you. Choosing yourself is also about trusting yourself. It's about believing in your ability to make decisions that serve your highest good, even when those decisions are difficult. It's about learning to rely on your own inner wisdom and intuition, rather than seeking approval or guidance from external sources. Ultimately, choosing yourself is a powerful act of self-respect. It's a way of honoring your journey, your struggles, and your triumphs. It's a way of saying, I am enough just as I am, and I deserve to be treated with dignity, kindness, and love.